Hey listeners, it's Kara, your host. After 176 amazing episodes and hundreds of book recommendations, I wanted to make it a little bit easier for you to find your next great read. The Bookish Lights Roadmap is your guide to all 175 podcast episodes, sorted by genre so you can quickly find the stories that fit your reading mood. From picture books to adult novels and everything in between, it's the perfect way to explore past episodes and discover new favorites. You can find your copy of the Bookish Lights Roadmap at www.bookishlights.com/read/roadmap, or just click the link in the show notes. Hi, I'm Kara Infante, and this is Bookish Flights. In each episode, I chat with one bookish guest as we take some time to sample and savor the pairing recommendations from their bookish flight. We hope to give you suggestions to cultivate your TBR list and nurture your leisure time through books. In today's episode, I am chatting with Sarah Monzon. Sarah is the winner of the Holt Medallion and Sella Award. Sarah is a stay-at-home mom who makes up imaginary friends to have adult conversations with, otherwise known as writing novels. As a Navy chaplain's wife, she resides wherever the military happens to station her family and enjoys exploring the beauty of the world around her. We are here today to discuss her latest novel, Hearts in Circulation. Welcome to the show, Sarah.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yes. Well, we've already kind of caught up a little bit in the behind the scenes here. But I always love to start with, I feel like we're so much more than these bios. So can you tell us a little bit about who you are?
Yeah, and that bio, I really need to rewrite it because it's kind of old now. Because it
Yeah.
says the littles, and my littles are more like middles. My, my oldest just started high school, so I'm not sure you can really call him a little anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He probably
so
wouldn't go for that either.
I mean, he's still like little, not quite, hasn't reached my height yet, so he's still littler than me. But yeah, I
Oh,
definitely need to update that. But yeah, so military spouse, my husband is a chaplain in the Navy, so we move around quite a lot. And I have two kids, a ninth grader and a sixth grader this year.
okay.
Um, and that pretty much takes up my life. Between that and writing books, reading, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yes. For listeners that maybe aren't familiar with the military life, we usually move about every 3 years. So it feels like you're always kind
Two
of,
to three.
yeah, just starting out, or then you're like pending, like, oh, we got to move next year. Like
Right.
it's this constant cycle.
You have about maybe a year before
Yes.
of just like breathing, and
Yeah.
then you're like, okay, well, next year we're moving here, and then you have to start preparing for that,
Yeah.
and then you get a year, and then you start it all over again.
Yes. I would call it the sweet spot, right? There's like that 1 year of where we're not in flux or like planning for the flux.
Hmm.
Yeah. Where has been your favorite place y'all have lived?
We definitely like the Pacific Northwest. So we've been stationed twice in Washington State, and we really like it up here. Just the mountains and the ocean, and we go orca whale watching and hiking, and the weather is always nice. So when everybody's posting when they have like 100 and some degree weather in the summer, I'm like, oh, it's 68 here. It's
Yeah.
72. Super nice, Like the base that we live on now, they have probably maybe half a dozen, or sorry, 2 dozen or so like deer that just live on the base. So I take the dog for the walk every day, and there's always deer and owls, and it's just really peaceful.
Yeah, I had for 1 year, and listeners, you can take this as you will, but we lived for 1 year in Washington State, and our house backed up to the forest on base. And so there was deer, like you said, all the time. And the baby deer, they were so cute. And I was like,
Hmm.
it's going to be my goal because they would jump in our backyard and be just
Yeah,
in
they
our
do.
backyard.
Hmm.
And I'm like, I'm going to feed oats to the deer out of my hand by the time we left. And literally, it was the last week we lived in Washington, and I did it. And my husband was like, you're such a nut. And I was like, it was like the one thing I wanted to do was feed a deer, and I did it. So I feel accomplished now. But it is so beautiful up there. And I had never really traveled up that way. So it was such a surprise.
Yeah, it's really pretty.
Yeah. Well, I have to ask, so being a military spouse and living in this transient life, had you always been a writer or did this lifestyle bring you to that?
No, I pretty much have always been a bit of a writer. I remember in when I was in elementary and school and stuff, they had a program called like Young Authors Program.
Yeah.
So they had prompts and things that you would write in like creative writing and stuff, and they always picked one story per like semester per classroom to be in that anthology, and they'd print it off and make like a book out of it. It was like three hole punch type of thing.
Sure.
About it. But yeah, so I had my first story published when I was like in first grade.
That's
I
awesome.
was like, I remember it was about a talking pen. That was the prompt to make your story about a talking pen. So
Yeah. So you found your love of writing early. That's
yeah.
amazing. Because I think that's something as military spouses, a lot that we maybe struggle with as our careers don't always transfer as we
Oh
move
yeah.
all of the
Hmm.
time. And so then it's becoming creative of what you can do,
Yeah.
and especially, and like we talked, 3 years is a short window of time
Hmm.
to like start a job, learn a job, be there and do any sort of progress before you're moving again.
Right. And if you have any sort of, like, I have a degree for elementary education. That's not something I would have to be recertified in every single state whenever we moved if I was going to pursue that.
Yeah. And I mean, just think about that. Like how much time and effort that would take.
Hmm.
And again, like you're only there for such a short window. So it's not like, oh, okay, this is worth it because we're staying.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm actually a physical therapist by trade, so we're licensed like nationwide. Well, we're not
Okay.
licensed nationwide, but our test is nationwide. So then we have to get licensed by the state. And
Hmm.
that's one of the things that goes into like, hey, we're 4 months out from moving. I probably should like start submitting my stuff to the licensing board for our next place because it does take a long time sometimes
Right.
to get that. So then you're ready to roll by the time you go there. But it is a challenge for sure as military spouses, I think. But writing, I feel like could fit so well.
Oh yeah. You pretty much just as long as you have a pen and paper,
Yeah.
kind of good to go. Some
Yeah.
internet.
Yeah. Well, I love that. Well, you've had your latest book, Hearts in Circulation, come out now. And for the listeners that maybe haven't had a chance to read it yet, can you tell them a little bit about it?
Sure. So it's the second book in the Checking Out Love series. They can be read as standalone. They just follow three separate librarians, so there'll be three books. And
Okay.
this one is follows Haley Holt. She is a librarian at a little made-up town in Tennessee called Little Creek, and they recently acquired a bookmobile. Um, Bookmobile is a bit sketchy. It was the mayor said that, vote for me and you'll have the bookmobile, but he didn't really specify what condition it was going to be in. So she's a little nervous on her first trip out. She's afraid she's going to get stranded. And oh, guess what? She does.
Yeah.
It breaks down in the middle of nowhere. And she gets stranded in this little hollow of a town. It's way back in the national forest area in Tennessee. And so she calls the mechanic, and he comes out and tows her. But there's a rock slide that also happens, so she's stuck there. She can't get out.
Yeah.
And it's a small, tiny, not even a speck on the map kind of town. So there aren't any hotels or Airbnbs or anything like that. Um, so the mechanic, Levi, begrudgingly, because he's kind of a curmudgeon, so sorry, I have an extra room. You can stay with me until the Department of Transportation gets this all sorted out. So yeah, that's kind of the catalyst of the. She's the happy, sunshiny librarian, and he is the grumpy, likes his privacy mechanic.
Yeah. And that was so evident as I was reading this that just what they had to grapple with in like now they're forced to live in the same house right now until this situation can be resolved and just everything they went through. And it was so like not that I mean I would love to think that I'm not the grumpy and I'm not the like I'm probably a little bit of both like right
Right.
a little bit of grumpy, a little bit of sunshine, but um Like just what you would have to grapple with and come to terms with to be in that close proximity for an extended period of time.
Hmm.
So I loved that for that reason. Well, what is your hope for the reader when they pick up Hearts in Circulation? What do you wish they'll take away from it?
Well, for the most part, I just hope that they enjoy the book and
Yeah.
just have kind of a, few hours of stepping back and being in another world and all that stuff. So one thing that I've been wanting to be intentional about in like the last few years that I've been writing is representation in fiction. Um, so I've done that with a few books now, and with Levi, he is grumpy for a reason. Like it's not just because of his personality. He struggles with some sensory processing issues. So just being around people have is a bit overwhelming with certain things, like if
Yeah.
they're wearing perfume, that gives him a headache. He's sensitive to touches and things like that. So um, he's just kind of felt the need to. He grew up in a big family, boisterous, and maybe not always. Not they were not always helpful in that
Yeah.
area. So he stepped back. So that's kind of him learning also where his comfort zone is. Like he doesn't have to be all the way on the extreme side of I need to be alone, I can't deal with people. Like what are his boundaries,
Yeah.
type of thing. And so I think that representation in fiction is just really important. And so I hope on two fronts that readers will take away. One, if they see themselves in any way in Levi, that they can feel seen in that way, that they feel like they're being represented, and that someone is understanding them in that way. And then for those who maybe don't relate to that, they can see it and then have more empathy and
Yeah.
understanding for people who do experience sensory processing issues, so that they're just kind of understanding of that develops.
Yeah. That's like one of my favorite reasons to read books is it allows you to walk in someone else's shoes that might
Hmm.
not be your life, right? And so you do get to experience the world through their eyes for that time you spent with the book. And I think that absolutely builds empathy for us all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you've written a lot of books by this point. Do you have a favorite one that you have written?
No. I don't do favorites like across
Yeah,
the board. I just can't, I don't know, my brain does not cannot do favorites because then it starts like cataloging things like, okay, I like this because this and this. Well, I like this because this and this. And then is there a rating system? Why is this more? And then it becomes overwhelming.
yeah,
So no, I don't. I enjoy them for different reasons. Like I can say, oh, I really like this book because of this, or
sure.
such and such type of thing. But to be like, yes, this one specific book is my favorite, I can't do that.
Yeah. What about a favorite character? Here I am throwing favorite, but did you have a character that you enjoyed writing in Hearts in Circulation?
In Hearts in Circulation, I really enjoyed writing Levi.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's probably one of my favorite characters.
I love that. Do you have, well, this book just came out, so
Yeah.
this could be our little sidebar here too, but do you have any other projects that you're working on?
Yes, so currently I am doing content edits for the third book in this series,
Okay.
which will be Martha's story, the third librarian there. So working on those.
Yeah. I just love this little series on librarians. I also think that you can learn so much about kind of that world. And when I first started Hearts in Circulation, I'm like, what a brilliant idea to use a bookmobile to get to these rural communities that might not have
Hmm.
access. And I was like, this is just, then you think these things are, that is such a great idea.
Bookmobiles are great. I love them. Yeah.
I know. I know. There's a great one that goes around San Diego here, and it's always it has the longest line at the book
Oh yeah.
festivals because it's like so cute. And it's like, I think it's a converted maybe school bus. It looks like it's all painted white, so it's hard to tell,
Hmm.
but it's so cute. And it has the longest line. Like, I've met them at like a coffee shop So it was a much smaller setting. But anytime I see them now, I'm like, your line's just too long. Like,
Right.
yeah, maybe I'll cycle back and see. But, well, you've been writing for a really long time, but was there a book that you read maybe as a child that made you want to become a writer?
I don't know if there was ever a book that made me become a writer, but I do remember a series of books that really solidified myself like as a reader and just in the whole literate story world type of
Yeah.
thing. And that would be the Mandy series.
Yes.
I think there's a lot of people my age that
Yeah.
have a lot of fond memories about the Mandy series. But I was probably in second or third grade when my mom bought me the first one, and I think I might have read it in a day. And then I was like, okay, let's go get the next one. And back then they were like 4.95 a piece. They were like $5, which
Yep.
doesn't sound like a lot of money. She was a single mom, and I think she just was like, I can't afford $5 a day.
Yeah. Like you just read
I
too
was just like,
fast,
yeah,
right?
I was just going through them. So I never finished the series because I think she was like still writing them way past the time I kind of outgrew them. Because there's like, I don't know, 40 or so books in that series. I think I made it to like their 20s or 30s or something like
Yeah.
that. But anyway, so I went on from there to like Ellen Montgomery and just read all of her stuff and just anything I could get my hands on after that. But I just remember that was when I became like the insatiable avid reader.
Yeah. I still think about that, about my children. Like, I couldn't possibly, I have three kids, and my youngest isn't reading yet. He's 5. But like, they read so fast. Like, they read a book within a day or two.
Hmm.
And, and then they don't usually always reread them. So I'm like, we just need to go to the library
Library.
and get a
Hmm.
stack of books because I can't keep up with you. And I'm not a big rereader, so maybe that's me impressing on them. Like, well, they probably want new content to read, right? But the library is a very good friend in our house.
Great. And a lot of times if they don't have the book that you want in catalog, you just have to request that they'll buy it. And 98% of the time, they'll buy the book for you and
Yeah.
then add it to the catalog. So it's really great.
Okay, so talk to me about that because I've actually never done it. Do you go to the librarian at the desk or is there like a form
Oh,
online?
wow. Okay, so I don't like talking to people because I have social anxiety. I like talking to people. I do all my library stuff online or on my
Okay.
phone on the app.
Okay.
Um, yeah, this is one of the great things. I don't know if you do this, but this is one of the great things about moving all the time is I collect libraries.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So
But then
like
you can't
on
always renew them. So you run out your time on that card.
I have never like
Really?
even yes, I am going on like 7, 8 years on one library.
Oh.
The DoD has their own library
Yeah,
too.
I know they did too.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So I have 5, 6, 7 libraries on Libby.
Yeah.
So if one doesn't have it, one of them doesn't have it. But anyway, yes. So if you go to most of your library's web pages, they will have usually like click down type of list or whatever, and
Sure.
it just would say like request, and then you just type in the title,
Okay.
um, and
See.
oh yeah, it's super easy. You can usually do it on the Libby app too.
Okay.
I read a lot of digital, obviously, so that's why I'm
Yeah.
saying this. But they'll do audiobooks if you prefer an audiobook. They'll do digital content. If you like paperbacks, they'll do that too. You just usually it'll just say what format you are requesting it in, and then you can click on what it is that you want.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah, I've never done it. I have
You can
heard
do it in
people.
person as well. If
Okay.
you're at the library, I said, if you're at the library, you can definitely go up and ask them. And
Sure.
if they have a special form, then they can tell you that. But otherwise, yeah,
On
most
the
libraries
website
I've
as
ever
well.
seen has been on the website.
Perfect. And also, I haven't used the DoD library since we lived overseas because we actually had a great library in Sicily. It was fantastic. Is it what online program do they use now? Do they use Libby or
Use
Cloud
Libby.
Libby? Okay,
Mhm.
perfect. Yeah, so for other military members
Yeah.
on here, you could do that too. Okay, well, thank you so much. I feel like we've done a really nice segue into reading. So, how in your busyness do you find time for reading?
I always have an audiobook and an ebook going. So
Okay.
audiobooks I will listen to when I'm walking the dog. I walk the dog every day, taking my kids to and from school, when I'm waiting in the line to pick them up from school. So I always have an audiobook going. Cooking, all the chores.
Sure.
Audiobooks are great. Love my headphones. Um, and then and then I'll have a regular ebook. So when my husband is back from home and he's watching TV, I'm not a huge TV watcher, so I'll just cuddle with him while I have my book. He has his TV. We're together doing our own things.
We
Um,
same at our house. Exact same setup. And we used to before kids, we used to watch a lot more shows together, but that was always really challenging to like pick the show or the movie. And now that I just have really stopped watching TV and movies, it works out because I'm like, well, now you don't have to worry about making sure that I'll like it too. You can pick whatever you want and I'll read whatever book I want and we're good.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's how it goes. So that's yeah. I read a lot. It's usually around 200 books a year.
Wow. That's amazing.
So I read fast. That's one
Yeah.
thing. I am a pretty fast reader, and then the audiobooks are usually like 1.75 speed.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I think audiobooks for getting through most of what I get through. So for that reason, like bump it up as the narrator, right? Narrator
mhm,
dependent. So
it's true.
yeah. Well, you have been so gracious to bring a book flight with you today. Can you tell us how you chose these three books?
So I chose these three books based off of representation in fiction. The first one I chose is All for Anna by Nicole Deese. I think this was probably the first book that I like consciously realized that there was like actual representation in it. It's PTSD, but usually all the books that I had read previously, PTSD had been from like a military standpoint, someone coming back from war or something like that, and they have
Sure.
PTSD. And this one is different. And I love that because I read so much, sometimes it's hard to find unique twists in
Yeah.
books, and this one definitely has it. And the heroine has PTSD because she's a trauma nurse. And so it's just that unique twist to it. And it was just done so incredibly well. Uh, so yeah, and then it just that just like I'm a Nicole Deese fan, like huge Nicole Deese fan. So I've read
Yeah.
all of her stuff, and I thought that might have been the beginning of it.
Yeah. See, I just found her. Well, I shouldn't say I just found her, but it finally made it into my ears this summer. And it was The Roads We Follow, I think is the first one in that series. And I immediately went and downloaded book two because I was like, I think it's the Fog Harbor series, if I remember
Yeah.
correctly.
hmm
And I also loved her book. So then I dove into book two, and then I think I got sidetracked because I had recordings coming up. So I had to read other things for up for recording, but loved her
When you
books.
get
I'm
a
so glad
chance,
I found
go back
her.
to her backlist and just
Okay. Start
they're
there.
all of them. They're all good.
Okay. Well,
They're
I'll just go add them on my Libby, and then that way
yeah,
they'll come in as I need
just
them.
all of them are amazing.
Wonderful. So that was All for Anna by Nicole Deese.
By Nicole Deese, yes.
Yeah. What's the next one
Um,
you brought?
I brought The Curious Inheritance of Blakely House by Joanna Davison Politano.
Yeah.
This is the book that she just released this year, and I really like this one. It's a historical with like steampunk kind of
I love
vibes to
it.
it, and the heroine is, I mean, it doesn't say it because of it's historical, so at the time they didn't really have the name, but the heroine definitely has ADHD.
Okay.
And I love it because I know that Joanna herself also has ADHD. So this was a lot of her personal story into it. And I just love stories that are like own voice type of stories.
Yeah, I think there's such power that you can add as the author, right? When you're writing from experience too.
hmm
Yeah, she came on. We talked about this new book on the show, and she was a delight. It was such a fun interview with
It's
her.
great.
Yeah, so that was The Curious Inheritance of Blakely House by Joanna Davidson Politano. And I will say, right before I interviewed her, I read A Lady's Guide to Marvels and
hmm
Misadventure by Angela
hmm
Bell. And that was
That
one of
was
those
fun.
books where I was like, I haven't read a book like this before
hmm
with those like steampunk vibes. And so then when I interviewed Joanna about this one, I was like, yes, I was wanting another one. So this was the perfect fit for another read.
It's nice and whimsical.
Yes, and like you said, I feel like when we read a lot, you're looking for something that kind of like shakes it up to be
hmm
different and unique, and I just adored that book. So,
Yeah.
what is the last book you brought today?
So the last book I brought is How to Find Love When You're Weird by Camilla Evergreen.
I love the title.
And Yes, isn't it? That was actually the reason why I decided to read the book was just because of the title. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
Um, and so this one also has representation in it. The character is female and autistic, and the author also has neurodivergence. And so I was looking specifically for a book written by an author with ASD that had a female main character with ASD at the time that I read it because I was kind of doing my own little journey and
Yeah.
I learned so much through like I process a lot of things through story, whether it's writing it or reading it. That's just something that I was specifically looking for at the time as I was learning more about myself.
Yeah. I'm so glad you brought that back up because I normally ask back in our little writer bit about what have you learned about yourself through writing?
Yeah, so with this book specifically, Hearts in Circulation and Levi's journey with sensory processing disorder, so my son was in the middle of getting some evaluations done a few years ago. And during those evaluations, he was referred to an occupational therapist. And so we're there at the occupational therapist doing like the intake. She's asking him a whole bunch of questions. I'm filling out all the survey or, the questionnaire stuff. And at the end, she hands me a pamphlet for sensory processing disorder. And I was like, oh, is this something that he has? And she kind of like nods, winks, smiles, doesn't say yes or
Yeah.
no, but like conveys yes type of thing. So I'm reading the pamphlet going, oh, yes, him, haha, yeah, okay, see that. But I'm going, wait me. Almost like I have way more even than he did. And if his was like a yeah, duh type of thing, then I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, well, this is even more me than him. So it kind of definitely it got me looking and reading and searching and diving into all of that. So while I was writing Levi, it was a lot of putting bit of my son in there, putting a bit of me in there, and just processing all of that.
Yeah. And I think that there's something to be said about, when we were kids and not to like say we're in the same, we're probably similar age, but like I don't think they had diagnostic tools for these things.
Mm-mm.
I just don't
Especially
remember.
not for females.
Yeah, and I just don't remember hearing about it or kids,
Mm-mm.
children finding this out. So it is something that we're discovering now as adults as these things do fine tune and they're more specific, and you learn that, okay, well, maybe I do have some of that, but it just was 20, 30 years ago, they didn't have that tool to test.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I
So,
think there's a lot of people around this middle-aged age that are their children are being assessed and they're learning and it's kind of like, oh, this answers so many questions about myself.
yeah, and you
You
can
know,
finally be like,
and then you go to your
a
own
breathe.
parents and you're like, hey, mom, have you ever, like, because
Yeah.
it's genetic and, you have like that weird family member, whatnot, that you're just like, oh, this answers so many different things.
Yeah. But I think too, just then it's like you finally feel seen a bit. Like, okay, like this finally adds up and makes sense, which I think then your brain can start to be like, okay, and then you know what you can do to go, what tools or what maybe
Yeah,
tips and tricks
exactly.
you can learn to navigate for you.
Yeah. And you kind of just like accept it instead of uh suppress some things.
Yeah.
So like for the sensory issues, for instance, like um I don't like going to the theater. Like it's a lot for me, but family likes to go and I want to be with family and they want me to be there.
Yeah.
And so before I just kind of like whatever. But now I have loop rings I put in my ears that help for the sound. And even though my husband makes fun of me, I wear my sunglasses inside because the screen is it's so bright for my
Yeah.
eyes.
And no
Uh,
one knows in the
because
theater.
it's so dark. It's just
Yeah.
this whole like everything is dark and it is so bright that it's
Yeah.
it hurts. So now I'm like, I don't care. Like I'm gonna wear sunglasses. You want me here? I'm wearing sunglasses. This is just how it's gonna be, and it works. It's accommodating for me.
Yeah.
So I think when we kind of learn more things about ourselves and stuff like that, then it like I said, it just kind of helps you to understand things and be more you instead
Yeah.
of masking for other
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. And like you said, when you're suppressing, you're not then able to identify like how to help myself with this because I'm
Right.
just trying to like push it down and just be here, you know?
Right.
Yeah,
See what's
absolutely.
acceptable, what
Yeah.
everybody else is doing.
Yeah. And hopefully, I mean, hopefully then going forward, I think about for our children, right? Is like, this is like you said, now we have books that write about representation of various things. So the empathy is going to increase. There's going to be more and more tools out there and things. So maybe for our kids that they won't be finding out in middle age
Right.
these little bits about themselves. So, well, thank you so much for bringing the book flight with you. The last one, just to recap, was How to Find Love When You Are Weird, and that was by Camilla Evergreen. How I love to end our show is with our bonus pairings, which are speed rounds you can answer really quick. Are you a rereader?
Yes.
Okay. What is one book you've read that has changed your life?
All of them.
I love it. Each in their own way.
Yeah,
Where is your,
exactly.
yeah, where is your favorite place to read?
Everywhere. Wherever I have a moment to read.
Love it. Lastly, what are you reading next?
I'm a big mood reader, so it really depends on just what I feel like picking up and
Yeah.
what's available, what came in from my library holds.
Yeah, I always joke that Libby really helps me decide what I'm going to read next because it just drops it in and you're like, okay, well, I guess that's what I'm pulling up.
Like, well, I got 21 days, so I better do this instead of what's on Kindle Unlimited, which I don't have a deadline for. So,
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show with me today. I know your time is precious and I appreciate all you've given me.
well, thanks for having me.
You are welcome. Thank you so much for listening to this episode today with Sarah Monzon, including her book flight of representation books. We'd love to hear what other books you'd pair with this book flight at bookishflights.com. If you enjoyed the show, please head over to Apple Podcasts and leave a review. Your review not only helps the show, but it also helps the podcast to reach others. Make sure you are subscribed on Apple Podcasts or Spotify to make sure you will not miss an episode. That's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. As Emma Thompson said, I think books are like people in the sense that they'll turn up in your life when you most need them. Cheers to you, dear readers. Until next time.